So hopefully everybody can see my screen here, and we will get started right away with the...
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Cheri, I just make one note that if anybody has any questions during the presentation, everyone's in mute mode, so you can feel free to ask us questions through the GoToWebinar interface, and we'll work answers into those as they come up either in the presentation or at the end of the presentation. We'll address all those as well.
Wonderful. Thanks for pointing that out, Dennis. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And with the SOLIDWORKS Electrical, you've seen a number of different aspects of the software so far. We're going to get into today a lot more of the managing, which is actually automated through the software, as well as the reporting and what some of the exporting features are that are available to you through our software. In the managing, we can do a number of different things because of that SQL database. One of those things that we can do is our numbering of all of our wires. Normally it takes you forever to do numbering of wires in a project. And with our automated system, you do not have that type of time consumption. So I'm going to go ahead right now and jump right into our software. And here I am going to show you that with our software, what you can do is we have a process that is actually for numbering new wires. And it is a one-button click. You number the new wires. It will ask you if you want to go ahead or do the existing wires, leave anything that was existing prior if you did anything manually. As you can see right here, we have all of the three-phase taken care of. If I go to my document tree and look at some of the PLC wiring, here these wires have automatically updated without any of the normal have to go through, figure out, is the company, you know, when you get new customers or when you get new employees, you're having to worry about, are they following your specific standards for the company? You can just as easily delete all of the wires from the entire project just as quickly and then do them later. But what's nice is that you have your go-to origin and destination arrows that we had before. So when you are doing numbering of new wires, those wires are translating from the previous page, coming straight through our transformer here, and it goes directly to that next one, and you are not having to worry, did I connect it up right? Did I move the wire number incorrectly? If I make a change to this wire, and I change that wire to something else, maybe I'm going to change it to, well, let's do it a different way here. There's a number of ways, of course, as you already can imagine, that we have all of these. I'm going to go ahead and just change this to a different wire number. And what's nice is when I make this manual change, it is going to change throughout the project. So I don't have to worry, did I do that audit? Did I make sure that it changed on the previous page? I can come here, grab it, come back here, and look. On the previous page, automatically it updated. Same type of thing holds true even when you are dealing with the wire labels. We have this really nice feature here, which this wire is just a standard wire, but what you have here is the fact that it is a 14-gauge wire and that it is of the color red. Some people like to add the extra information into this wire. You can hide or show the equipotential label. And these labels could also be used instead of an actual wire number. You can use these labels to transfer that information to your panel builders or panel fabricators very quickly so that they realize exactly what you're looking for as far as numbers. When we come to the terminal strips, they are also an automated process. By dropping in a terminal, I am already creating an entire list of everything that I am using as far as the terminals. As you can see here, I'm going to this motor starter. I'm coming through this cable going through to the motor. Even assigning parts, as quick as grabbing an assigned part And here I can grab this Wago terminal. And when I assign that in, it actually drops all that information in. I can then do another one-button click and get a terminal drawing. Now this is a template. It tells me that it created that drawing. If I come over here to my templates, you can actually see those drawings. I'm going to open up the second one here because as you can see, here's the one that I have been working on in the past videos. So here is our motor. It gives you cable cores. It tells you what terminal strips it's going through. Very quick, very simple. All right, and with that, that ends our first section there. So obviously, we can eliminate human error. We can remove at least 15% of your design time because you're not having to worry about data entry. You're not having to do those secretarial type duties as far as managing components or of the wire numbers or of those terminals. And of course, it helps reduce the training company because you don't have to train them in the standards that you are utilizing. You are actually going ahead and creating that information directly at their fingertips. Dennis.
Yep, good stuff, Cheri. Especially, I like the metrics that you bring in with that second bullet point of the time that you save on design by having the software manage those things for you. Kind of segueing into our next section, then I'm going to launch a quick poll question that is going to ask you a little bit more about what types of things do you do to provide information to other people when you're doing your design, both during and after your system design is done. Here are a list of options that might be information that you're supporting to those other departments or suppliers. If you would take a moment to pick all of them that apply to what you do, that would be great. And then we'll, as we give a minute here, kind of segue into the next section where we're going to start showing you some of these types of reports. Cheri will be going through different areas on what the system can create for you automatically as you input your design data. I'll give you another minute, not a minute, but a few more seconds here to let everybody get done. And then we'll close that down. Actually, we'll share the results that we got out of that. And we'll wind down here. Let's close that. And let's see where we can share the information for you. You can see that it looks like everybody's creating all these various types of output from their designs. So I think the next section ought to be pretty relevant, huh, Cheri?
I would definitely say so.
All right.
Thank you, Dennis. All right, so let's get into these reports and let's see what we can actually do with them. We have a number of different reports that you can utilize here in the projects, and of course these are all automated. We'll go ahead and jump right into our area here. And what I'm going to do is drop into the software. And as you can see with this terminal strip, we have, this was all just an automated process. Let me close out a couple of these sheets here. And what I'm going to do is we're going to go right directly to our reports. And in our reports, we have a couple of different types of reports going on. I haven't finished this one out, so that's why it doesn't have some of the information. Here's our bill of materials, but these are the types of reports that we have. We have everything from bill of materials for group by manufacturer or other ways you can group your bill of materials. We have lists of components. You can do a list of tags. I specifically have a couple of ones that I use on a regular basis because I remember in my old days working with electricians, they would love to sit there at those Brady labelers and just type in numbers, whether they were correct or not. And then you would get just a list of garbage. And no offense to any electrician, but sometimes when you're drinking coffee and not really wanting to type, you may have a fat finger or two. And here you have a list of wire tags, which means every tag in the project is being utilized or being recognized. So as you see here, here are the entire set of marks. Not only does it give you the marks, it tells you how many you need. You need a tag for each end of the wire, so it gives you 2 of each, but I'm not having to guess it. I can Excel export this so that it goes directly to a Brady labeler or anywhere else that you might be utilizing. Some of the other things that we have here, other reports, we have ones that are just specifically for whether you have your drawing list. The drawing list is one that you regularly create, but of course you're having to update it all the time because you're adding sheets. Of course, the SQL database is going to fix that for you. Any unreferenced elements, missing components here. We have things along that line. PLC IO is another big one here. You can take all of these and create drawings for them. So right now, if I create this bill of materials and hit generate drawings, I can select which list I want to create as another drawing just by unchecking it or checking it. And as you see, it adds a bill of materials over here to the left. So I'm going to go ahead and open up one of these, and you can see exactly what we've got. This is our standard template. So it is coming up with part numbers, the quantities. You do not have to worry that you miscounted how many terminals, because of course the terminals, which is here on page 5, shows you every terminal that is called out and the total quantity. So you are not having to go back through your project and count how many terminals, besides the fact that it's a handful of terminals. You can actually have an exact count. So it does help, especially with costs of projects, that you don't have things getting out of hand because you ended up just having somebody fictitiously coming up with a number that, oh, this is going to be good enough. You can also do things like when we were here in the project, in these reports, you could also export these directly to Excel, or you could actually bring them in and export them as CSV or text files. You can add them directly to the project. You could also make it an XML export, or just create these as drawings in your drawing set of your sheet. Allows for very easy capabilities here. Some of the other capabilities that we have is that we can take all of our drawings here and export them to EWGs. So you have the capability of using all e-drawings, our free software there that is more of a just a CAD type software. You could also export any of our files to DWG or DXF. We go anywhere from the year 2000 version all the way up to 2013, but both in DXF and DWG. So it gives you some flexibility here, as well as being able to select either all of the drawings to export or just part of them. You can also do things like exporting the PDF. Now here, exporting this PDF, if you remember those hyperlinks that we talked about before, you can add those hyperlinks into your export if you are exporting as one PDF. So therefore, you would be able to go ahead and click one link, and as that one link would take you from sheet to sheet to sheet, especially like with your go-tos, your cross-references, any of those type are fully available in the PDF format. All right, and then of course you can export the entire thing. We also have some importing features which we can discuss at another time. But with that, with the reporting here, as you can see, you can ensure that everyone is utilizing accurate data, not just the person designing it. You can export that information to anywhere, including purchasing, if you've got a specific purchaser in your company. You can also design faster because you're not having to spend any time with these reporting features. It's a matter of click and select. And then, of course, it removes the need to audit or collate your reports to make sure, did I update this specific task? Did I update that bill of materials? Did it make it to the purchaser, or are they ordering the wrong parts? This will eliminate a lot of that extra that you do not have to worry about. Dennis,
Cheri. Good stuff again. Fulfilling on our last poll question. The next question is a simple yes, no. We don't have anything that we're going to be really covering on this in this session, but it might be something in the future that does come out. So depending on what you think about it, let me launch that one out here. And while we wait for everybody to answer that question, do you need to create system calculation reports? This is another area that we get into, but we're not really covering today so much, but it does kind of fall under the report category. I just would say that can relate to your electrician that drinks too much coffee and has fat fingers, because that is not only to those guys, but engineers as well.
Oh, yes. Well, and you have things like those duct filling ratios. How many times have you walked up to a cabinet and seen a tie wrap on a duct because somebody hasn't calculated how many wires go into that duct? And yeah, there's some stuff that people do not utilize, which are available now, that could allow for a lot more usage to make a cleaner design than what we have existing today.
Yep, so we'll kind of leave it at that with that little teaser of maybe something that's coming down the road here. Let me close off the poll here, and we'll share those results again. Keep that up for a second here. And I think, as you noted, probably not an area that a lot of people are dealing with right now, but maybe something that, from an awareness standpoint, we should talk a little bit more about in a future session.
Yeah, most definitely.
All right.
Okay.
So let me hide this and turn it back over to you.
All right. Lastly, we're going to get into the exporting. So the exporting allows us to be able to do these DWGs, PDFs, export to Excel. Let's jump right into that here. And what you will see when we create this export here, I'm going to go ahead and create an export that we can actually see and go back through. So I will just type this as a test, and let's see if I can browse to where I want to actually put it. I'm just going to put it right here on my desktop and make that test there. Excuse me, and go ahead, and I think that is all we need. I don't need any more from that, so I'm going to go ahead and print this here. And it's basically going to take everything just as is and create our PDF. It does take a second, especially once you get to our larger project. You get to a couple hundred pieces, and of course you end up with a lot more in there. So I believe here we have a desktop, and it looks like we have two. The reason we have two is we have one per book. So this is for book 1, this is for book 2. We're going to look at book 1 here, and I'm just going to go through some of these pages here. And as you see, the minute I am going to go ahead to, let's go to this one here. And as you can see, this cross-reference is still working. So if I click here, it takes me to my motor starter. The next instance, if I go to that tag, it takes me to the contact. I come back here, it's going to take me directly to these contacts. If I click one more time, it takes me directly to that motor starter. Now, what's nice about this is that you do not need to have the software in order to be able to utilize these hyperlinks in this PDF. This is a PDF viewer that I am using. This is just Adobe Acrobat Reader that I am using here. That being the case, you could put this on an iPad. You could put this on an iPhone. You could put this on an HMI or panel viewer, Zycom screen at your machine and still be able to easily troubleshoot, because you do not need to have a software with a license nor internet access. You can have everything right here at someone's fingertips, including the electrician who still has his cup of coffee, that does not spill it onto your documents because it's inside of a viewer. So, of course, it then becomes very easy if you are making a change to the project. You would simply change this PDF file in that viewer, and they would be completely updated. You wouldn't have to worry about making sure that all 3 books that you had to provide to a specific customer were then also every possible change that you've made or upgraded to or modified has been given to everyone that needs it, and they're not working off of old documents. That becomes a huge issue, especially I noticed it when I was out in the field. How many times did you get a drawing set and the drawing was 5 years old and missed half of the red lines that it required? You end up with some major things there that could possibly cause an issue. So you have a lot of flexible tools for many different formats. Hang on here 1 second. Taking a second for the computer to catch up. All right, the flexible tools for many different formats. You're going to have faster time to market due to decreased time to design. Again, exporting quick, reporting automatic. Of course, that eliminates those costly mistakes, including the customer's costly downtime due to how much time you would be utilizing for diagnosing a piece of equipment that is not running correctly. Why it would not be running correctly is right there at your fingertips. You don't have to worry, does that electrician need to go find his toolbox and find a set of prints? You can walk in with that file right there. All right, and with that, that pretty much covers everything that I was going to cover for the managing, reporting, and exporting here. And give me a second for this to, for some reason, it's a tad bit slow here to catch up, I'm noticing.
Yep. And while that's going on, we'll kind of queue up the last poll question that we've got here before we wrap things up. Let's launch this. This kind of segues into the last slide that you got a little peek at there. For information that you might want to make a note of, how much time do you spend right now creating the information package that you have to share with your suppliers, your customers, internally, etc. That varies quite a bit from company to company as we talk to folks. And it's a big part. I remember when I was still in engineering, our controls manager had a little sign on his wall that said the job's never done until the paperwork is finished, and we had a little image of Snoopy sitting there on the toilet.
Oh, yeah,
but it's so appropriate and true that all of these things that we've been talking about are tied back to that little four-letter word of time. And as we look at the last slide, that's where the big benefit for a solution like SOLIDWORKS Electrical comes into play, is what amount of time is it able to save for you. So we'll wrap up the polls here, and what we'll do is move on to our next slide here. Let's close that and talk real briefly about some of the benefits that you mentioned with us here today, Cheri, and kind of wrap those up under the umbrella that you can make a note of if you're going back to your management team or ownership to talk about what a solution like this can do potentially for your company. Really comes down to three areas that we've talked about before in the past as well. How you can decrease potential risks of the designs that you're doing. So the reporting tools and the auditing tools that we've shown you really help you to catch errors early on in the process before they actually go to purchasing or hit the manufacturing floor. How many times, do we get the wrong part out in the field that requires somebody to ship something or to reorder another component that it should have been? We're really cutting out that potential risk for those types of errors by having accurate reports that are generated from the data that we're designing, that we've done our audits with before we've created those reports. Second area, obviously, this is busy work, as we talked about. Cheri mentioned that a couple times. We take that away from you and allow you to focus on your design. So how much better can your design be if you're given a little bit more time and you're not up against the clock to finish that project? And we know from talking to a lot of our customers as well, one of the big factors that everybody talks about these days is having to be more innovative and bring more value into the systems that they're selling. So that requires time and more engineering up front. We are trying to give you more of that back to focus on what you really want to do rather than creating the paperwork. And wrapping it all up, doing that process to create better products in less time. Documentation is required, no doubt about it. It's the necessary evil that you're not going to be able to avoid. You still have to share that information with other people in your company, your suppliers, your customers, etc. But how can we help automate the tasks to save you that time? So hopefully you took that value away from that question we asked and start to look at how much time you're spending doing these types of tasks. And we certainly welcome the opportunity to come in and talk with you more about this solution. It's getting a lot of traction. In fact, I put a little apology here at the end. We had to postpone a couple of these webinars that we're going to be bringing up now in the following months. But moving forward, we're going to have one webinar per month to better schedule our time and resources, because we got a little bit jammed in the middle of June and April, I should say May and June here, with other projects that took time away from doing the webinars. We are going to come back and do those that we missed. So if you had signed up for this in the past, look for an email letting you know when that new date and time is going to be coming forward. And we appreciate everyone sitting in on these. Hope that you find value in them. If you have any questions, as the last slide, feel free to send those off to Cheri or myself or your account manager in your area, and we're happy to look into it and dig into the situation that you're being challenged with on your end. Cheri, anything on your side as we wrap up?
Nope, other than I would like to let people know that not only will we be finishing up this series that we had originally forecasted, but we will be adding more webinars based off of those requests of other areas that people were looking into, like the hydraulics and pneumatics. So if there is something specific that you'd like to see, please make sure that either, as Dennis mentioned, Dennis or myself or your account manager is aware of what those webinar topics would be, and we will make sure that we add those into this series as we continue forward throughout the year. You can pretty much look for the fact that just about on every, I believe we decided it was going to be every first Friday of the month, other than, of course, right around Labor Day and July 4th, we will go ahead and put out a webinar for electrical with these topics that everyone is looking for. So hopefully we will continue to see you there. And that's all that I have to add.
Oh, one other thing that I caught, we do have a new case study that talks about some of these tools. If anybody's interested in that, let either Cheri or I know, and we can make sure that you get a copy of that study or the ROI tool that we use if you're looking to start building that information for your management team. So thanks a lot again to everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Yes.
Thanks, Cheri.
Thanks.